ambient noise, yeah.
So now you're grabbing some band lab clips.
Yeah.
Now for me, that would also be something where I would use like volume automation and like bring that from the bottom, like bring it in and then bring it back out.
And these are the kinds of sounds you can scratch. With this AI, like scratching it actually can be cool.
Oh, that was perfect for the interlude too.
Ends it right in the right
I
spot.
didn't even notice. 40. I didn't even realize the texture faded out at the interlude until it happened. I'm like, wait a minute.
Sometimes you just, it was just meant to be that way.
This is Angified Presents Productions. Woohoo! Welcome to Talkin Shhh I.T with Tony and Convergent Evolution.
Glenn's hiding in there in a
Glenn's
profile
hiding.
picture.
Yes. And Tony's studio.
Oh yeah, that's hiding off to my side.
Yeah, can't forget that one. Hope you all are great tonight. Thank you so much for joining us as we talk Shh IT.
Well, we play IT tonight.
We did.
I finally got to jam a little.
You did, yes. Last night we went ahead and we kind of cornered off the Zoom and we said after 9 o'clock, if you enter, be prepared to jam. Because it's Tony's jam night.
And we got a little poetry in there. Little melody.
We did. We had some special guests. We had Tommy from Open Minds Open Mic, and we had Mayvi. So
yeah, he got to
good
bust out
time.
the new 12 string that he's got.
Yeah. So what would you like to share tonight, Tony?
Oh, well, we've got a couple of our recordings that we did from there. Some interesting ideas that came out of it. Definitely some songs that I'm going to want to develop more. I like the ideas that you and Tommy both threw at me.
Oh, see, he got whipped. Kind of, right?
I did.
Technically a whippings, right? I mean, it's not obviously a whippings, but it's a whippings.
Yeah, there's some good whips in there.
Okay. So I guess then we'll share the first one.
Roll it.
Here we go. Oh, wait, no laughing, no laughing.
Now, I don't know if I put them in the actual order that we played them, but I did snip them.
Okay. Here we go.
Hey, Ange, let's sing about the world, man. How are we gonna make it a better place and whatnot, man? We got big dreams, big aspirations, and it's just us two little old me's, sitting here contemplating on how we can make the world a better place. We got Tony on the keys. Yeah, and we got Tony on the keys. Tony, can you help us with a melody that's gonna make some sort of music, some sort of freestyle that might resonate with the future generation and really make a change in this world? Yeah, that's smooth, Tony. I like that. And what's going on in the world now?
All this chaos and confusion in the world. Children's left without parents, left at the door. Nowhere to run, the drugs are on the floor, and I don't know, it's a mess for sure. Tell me, what you see from that side? Is it a place where you wanna run and hide? Or is it a place that we can evolve and grow? Oh, tell me how we can make this world plant and grow.
We wanna make the world grow to what it's supposed to be. See, coming from the streets, I've seen many of evil things and many of men doing evil deeds, but you know, that's just the past. See, and forgiveness is easy. It's just accepting yourself in the mirror and realizing this existence is shared with everyone you ever known, and we couldn't do this alone. So I think it's time to grow. Yeah, we gotta grow up now. We gotta get people growing together, and we gotta grow the crowd, and we gotta make a difference. That significance is creeping at the tip of this tongue.
Put the drugs down, take my hand. We will fight it until the end, and we will grow if we all take time to learn our minds, our hearts, our souls, what we know. Taking everything, oh, we'll reap what we sow, but there's a better way, and there's a better way, oh, there's a better way to make this world go round.
See, if you was walking down the street and you just so happened to see a man that needed a hand up, not because he had his hand out begging for change, but look at how he's dressed, look at his mental, look at his brain, man, just know that that man just might needed a hug. So instead of donating $1, donate 5 minutes of your time to sit down and get to know this person. Yeah, this is mine. Help anyone that you can. If everyone lends a hand, then no hand will be reaching out. Ain't no hands gonna reach out no more.
Caught that guy on the subway train, and he was playing and covered from the rain, but he gave his time in life to tell you his story. Alrighty then. So that was kind of freestyle off the top, jamming around with Tony. I think Glenn and Bill warmed me up earlier on Wednesday morning.
Nice. Yeah, it sounded great. Like all of that.
Yeah, that was some positive freak. We even got Tommy to sing a little.
That's right. And he doesn't normally sing on things, but I think it kind of helped because we were both kind of freestyling, singing and things together. So it was a conversation.
So it got his wife to like get up.
Yeah.
Like, are you singing?
That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Thank
I dug it.
you.
Not a lot of good messages out there in a lot of today's music.
Well, that's something we try and do.
I'm all warm and fuzzy now.
Me too.
All right. Well, then I guess we'll play number 2.
Right.
Here we go. Step to the mind.
Yeah, I think I titled them pretty good.
Now every time I look at the sun, I see that young man looking back. He's looking down at me, smiling, like it's just another day. Oh, yeah. Just another day, like, just another day. So when that light comes out to play, take my hand and dance across this land with me. Make people understand the love that we see, that we're all one family. Like, god damn it, G, like, yo, Angie, you ready to get on the mic? You ready to get back in the song? Yo, I know you got some, like,
Did you say it was a new day, Tommy?
yeah, it's a new day now. Yeah.
New day to give hope to a stranger in the land. It's a new day to give love and life. Give your time and your ears to a melody tonight, and hold my hand while we take flight on this journey. 'Cause it's a new day, a new day, a new day. Oh, new day to start again.
A new day. I wipe the sleepies out my eyes. I smile cause I'm still alive. I got my wife by my side. It must be a new day. It's not raining today, see. There's a few clouds, but just to stop the heat from burning my face. Cause when I smile at the sky, the stars always smile back. It's a new
day.
Let's change the way yesterday was. I could think about 5 things that I did wrong yesterday. I could think about 10 more that I could do better today. New day.
A new day to start again. I love Cat's face.
Oh yeah, that's
I
when
think Tommy won
that's
that
when she
round.
popped in.
I think Tommy won that round.
No, he started getting like that soulful singing. I
Yes.
was thinking like, damn, like Joe Cocker style.
Yes.
He was even doing the
Yeah.
I was like,
Back.
there we go.
It's a new
Yes.
Tommy on a new day.
That was so awesome to see.
Well, and
Well,
again, you guys went positive.
we did. We did. Maybe it's just the positive energy, you know.
Well, and we
He's
were
very
playing in
positive. We're like
we
you're
were
very
playing in major.
yes, we were. We were. And there for a while we were playing in minor.
Yes, the
We
little
we
bridge part.
we got stuck on minor for a little while too, you
Yeah,
know how it
D
happens.
D minor.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's check this out. Oh wait, I forgot to share screen.
Yeah, what is the next one?
Come on, talk shh. Here we go.
Oh, I gotta say. Now we go a little minor.
I met a man at the grocery store.
My wife just came out because she heard us singing from inside and came out, and so I had to just show her Tony's the keys. So, yeah, she heard us singing and was like, I was like, "Did you hear me singing?" She's like, "Why do you think I came out here? Like, fuck, you guys are trash." She's been just listening, but so I had to show her Tone over there. What are you doing? All right. So I remember by the time I was 12 years old, I seen the first man homeless on the sidewalk where I strolled, and I took the $10 out of my pocket and told him, "Yo, here you go, man. It looks like you need a drink and maybe some Head and Shoulders," but he kind of giggled it off and walked away. I lost my mind for days thinking about how somebody could leave somebody behind in that way, and where was his parents at? Where was anybody that loved him? And then just realizing that I only had 2-3 people in my life that loved me, I could see how I could equally lose those people too, and I have no one but you. It's strange, you're on the sidewalk that I just bumped into but felt like talking to for 4 hours about how our lives are so similar yet our backgrounds are so different, and you spent 35 years in prison. I walked free from my crimes, and the time now is almost 6 a.m. and we can get some beers soon, and yeah, it's been 35 years since you had a beer, dude. Like, I got you.
For he was a soldier and a fighter and a friend, a brother to those 2 soldiers he saved that day. And then he fell, he fell, he fell, he fell, he fell onto that stone. And then he fell, he fell, he fell, he fell onto that stone. And then it was to make passage, to make clear passage. But then he knew he hadn't given up. He saved 2 lives, but it wasn't enough. Oh, he's seen so many brothers and was cut to shreds as the shrapnel ripped apart his legs. And he still threw those soldiers off that tank, and then he fell, he fell, he fell, he fell, he fell, a hero at the end of the day. He fell, he fell, he fell, but then
like the sky was pushing down on his back as his head cracked to the ground. He looked around and he fell so hard that it made such a sound that people jumped out of their suits. Boots left empty, nothing left but just bad memories. And he fell and hit his head so hard that day that the planet swayed and changed a different way. He's waking up in a daze 6 years later, not knowing where his legs went, why he can't walk, why the best thing he has to do is to talk to strangers and people who say they're his family members, but
Oh, that's the one you were like, I could do a whole nother round.
yes, yes, definitely.
All right, so I'll have to admit, you actually caught me singing to that one. That was a great piece, Tonos. Yeah, I was singing something totally different than you and Tommy were on.
Okay. But the
Yeah.
melody is what caught you
I
right
was,
there,
yeah,
huh?
I was I was focused in on what Tony was playing, and
If
I
you got
was
some ideas for that, I do have that in my piano work. It's workable.
okay. Not
Yeah,
that I claim I can sing.
it's got a little more. It's got some strings and some additional instruments, but that melody's in there. I'll dig the link up for you.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't come up with
that
lyrics too often, but that one really like struck a chord. No pun intended, but
that's one of my first compositions I ever did when I first started actually writing songs. That was like number one.
yeah, that. Not to take away from the happy stuff you guys were singing, but I went towards a rainy day and just it was just about rainy day and I don't know, shattered dreams on the sidewalk. I don't know. I was in a zone.
Very
I was
awesome.
feeding on it.
Well, now, Tony, you got to put that down and add him on as a collaborator.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
comes to the next
that
one is
that one's like
obviously.
38 years old. That one is old.
As am I.
Let's check out the next track.
All right.
And it goes to show you can jam in Zoom. I mean, when you get the original sound turned on, it does work.
Haha. See, obviously, Glenn.
Oh, and maybe I popped in.
Life is good, yeah. It's better than great. I even get to lick the gravy off the plate. I still wallow sometimes up in my sorrow, but my mind has decided a way to hide it behind me. Keep looking forward. Keep following my path.
I gotta mute my mic because I still hear my key clicks.
You're here. We can't hear it though, but if it's fucking you
Yeah,
up, then
but
mute it.
my
Well, you're not gonna
monitoring.
sing or anything, right? Yes, you might as
Well,
well.
my
mute it.
monitoring, I hear my
You can
key
hear
taps.
it.
Like
Yeah.
these are weighted keys. I can hear the
Yes,
keys.
yo, it's so cool too, because with that effect you have, like here, press one of the keys softly, and then next to it, press one hard. Like do that.
This is soft.
Okay, now press it hard. Dude, it even lights up like the other keys around it depending on how hard you hit it. You see that? It like shines into the other fucking key. That's cool. That's fucking so dope, Tone. I love that effect. It's like I'm playing a keyboard hero. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to hit the same keys as yeah.
Well, I'm hoping to use it for like some keyboard lessons.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great, man. I gotta link you up with fucking Johnny and Meg. They wanted to do music lessons and stuff, like a music workshop. The sun will always come out to play. Sun will always I have walked down the sun. I keep stepping out of my own shadow. I'm looking for the sun, some brightness, some happiness, some hollow place that I could curl up into a ball and just bawl my eyes out. I mean, so balled up, you think I was a nutsack. I'm fucking nuts, but I'm past that. I'm fucking a klutz sometimes. My rhymes still come out of this crazy, beautiful mind of mine, and inspired by times, and I don't even know what I'm saying, but somewhere they're gonna be replaying this stuff. I know more than the next man knows. I've seen further than the eye bar.
Fuck. That's actually one of my old songs that like
I like that. That one was dope. I like that one.
and that's one that works great with spoken word because
Yeah.
it's
Dude,
just
I
an
could.
A, it's just an A bounce. It just bounces
Yeah.
on A.
And then from there, the spoken word artist can do the melody, and it's just like a backtracking for like it's almost just setting pace and tone and cadence for the spoken word, like. And then with Tony doing that fucking solo on top and that high fucking it, like, oh,
Yeah, well, soloing on top of this is a piece of cake because all you got to
yeah,
do is stay in A
yeah,
minor
just
and
stay in A minor, yeah, and then the
you're
spoken word
fucking
artist can
good.
really shine there too. That's dope. Yo, so we have to consider stuff like that when we're doing the Muse I see.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
just something like that where you're
If
playing in one, because that was dope. But you playing that fucking one A minor key and kind of setting tone for to just do like an A minor solo, and then somebody can set tone off of that, and then you kind of, you know what I mean, everyone knows together. Like that was, I like that. That was dope. And then build from there. Start throwing in some more keys, get tone, you know what I mean? Like, because it's a freestyle between all, right? Like.
So that's actually another one of my old pieces that I recorded back in the '90s. Called Obviously, but
Again,
it does work nice with spoken word.
yeah, it's got a good rhythm, like a flow.
Oh, and ran to the bathroom, huh?
Timing is everything, right? Yeah, I think when it comes to the jams, I think it also depends on which instruments you have together in order to make it work. Like if you're trying to do something that where one person's playing a drum beat and somebody else is doing something else, I don't think it would work as well. Whereas if it's something like Mavi was doing a really good, background ambient kind of a thing where it works no matter what the timing is. And with the spoken word, same thing. The timing's not as rigid. Where if you were singing something where it was, right on timing all the time, it might be a little different with the latency. But we'll see how it works out when we try it out another time.
Yeah, we're going to be trying a couple of different pieces of software to see which one gives us the best latency. Here, while she's getting back, I can load up the original version of that song. Let me dig that up.
I know we tried a couple of different ones for playing online at the same time. One of the ones, trying to think of it, did we try Jamulus ever, or we started setting that one up? There's a couple of different ones that we tried setting up at one point.
Yeah,
Sonobus.
Sonobus was the one that was the most promising.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we talked about Session Wire.
Yeah, Session Wire's got a lot of potential too. That's
I,
one
I
that's on my list.
Brian White and I use that frequently. Like I still remember we're on it probably 3 or 4 days a week.
Nice.
Yeah, Session Wire is really good. Every once in a while you'll get a glitch, and it depends on the person's internet.
Yeah, that's usually the trick. I mean, where I live is I'm right near New York City, so I'm in a fast spot, so I shouldn't have any trouble with connections at all. But
Right.
sometimes, you're connected with somebody who's out at, an area that doesn't have reliable internet or is trying to connect from a cell phone or whatever, and it can be tricky as far as all that goes.
Yeah, for sure.
Depends how many pieces you have connected to, I think. Because if it's just
Yeah.
two people
Well,
back and forth, you can lock in pretty well. But
what's cool because when you go into Session Wire, you actually do a check. It runs through a checklist, and it actually tells you what your latency is or what the
yeah,
pingback timing
yeah,
is, and then you can. I think you tell it to adjust
right.
so that it's on a. I think it's on a. It moves. It vacillates with what's going on to
You can
keep the
basically
latency.
you can set an input delay so that, like, again, if somebody had a metronome going into their microphone and everybody
Right.
else who's out there in the world, like it's checking their connection, it's finding out that they're 50 milliseconds behind, let's say, so
Right.
that it'll take whatever's coming in from the world and it'll delay it by 50 milliseconds to what you're hearing and it'll the vice versa. It'll make it so that you're
Correct.
hearing it ahead of time, essentially, so that
Correct.
when you're playing, then it'll all time in. But it's tricky to manage all of that on the fly is the main thing
Yep.
because those speeds change over time. Especially if somebody else on your connection is doing something, like if you're in a place where you have people downloading a movie like right as you start doing something, you're going to have a problem there.
Who turned the Netflix on?
All at the same time.
Right.
But
That's
you
what
don't
happens
want
at
to be
prime time.
doing that while somebody's gaming. That's
Exactly.
where the bandwidth gets eaten up.
Yeah, they know when I'm on. I have movies on download on an external hard drive, got about 6 terabyte worth of movies. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing this, guys. So everybody get on that to watch a movie. Everything else gets shut off.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I use my Plex for. I have about 42 terabytes on my Plex. I am Netflix.
Every movie ever made, and then a few extra.
Yeah. And a lot of TV shows.
Yeah.
No.
Full
Hey, we
series,
got
right?
Mad Cracker in the house. Welcome.
What?
Yeah. It's always a party when he appears.
Facts.
A Mad Cracker sighting. Nice.
Now, go figure. The one song that doesn't work on my YouTube channel is that one.
Naturally.
Mm,
It works better than all the songs on my YouTube channel because I don't have one.
You aren't hearing that, right?
What's that? No.
Good.
And I usually hear everything.
and I do have another one that actually was pretty good on this album. Here, I'll play this while we're waiting for Ann.
Cool.
This was an album I made back in the 90s. My sister was doing a walk for kids with cancer.
Mhm.
And we put together an album of songs. And this was my favorite production. I actually programmed the drums for this one, all the piano and the synth. Got my guitarist Matt to play the guitar on it. It was an incredible solo. It's called Start Thinking Again.
Nice.
Told my lies to change my ways, but I had no time.
And that's the one that doesn't play. Obviously. Whoa, he got a cowboy hat.
I had to. This one's for
Yeah.
Cracker.
This bud's for you, man.
Very cool. Then, how long ago was that? You said you wrote that? Those are like
That
ones that came together over time. Some of them were right.
that was from 1992.
Nice.
Yeah, we were a little ahead of our time.
And the one earlier was from last night, so spanning many decades.
Yeah. Well, I'm wanting to redo a lot of those songs that I did then. They were they were developed for that album, and that was kind of at the beginning of like my songwriting. I finally got to a point where like I was writing songs in the band, and that's what that album was a collection of new songs that I did. We had just gotten the 8-track recorder. It was all still pretty new, and I've always wanted to go back and redo them with what I have now. I have better samples and
Uh-oh.
more experience.
Like I said, would you find yourself redoing, redoing parts, like redoing what's in the parts, or just more redoing the mixing in different ways, or like completely reworking the song from that song idea?
With that one, I would like to actually make a whole album around it, and that
Nice.
kind of sound. That was the only one on that album that was like symphonic metal. Most of the other songs were more piano based and rock. This
Right.
one was progressive. A lot of orchestrals that at the time, the keyboard that I had, 92, it's not like the orchestra sounds were not like they are nowadays. Like now I could really write a great orchestral piece to that.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day about the phantoms and the montages. Now you're a
So
fan.
I've been with Roland pretty much the whole ride. I started with Casio, but in the 90s I shifted to Roland, and I've never looked back. I've stayed with them for decades.
Do you remember which one I told you that we have over at the studio there? I don't remember the model offhand. It's like MX something maybe.
Is it a Casio?
No, it's a Roland.
The Roland?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one that Joey got for if we're gonna have somebody play keyboards out. We figured we'd have something that's got some good sounds and all that. So he wants me to grab it and bring it home one of these days and work with it and get comfortable with which sounds are where, because it's actually set up a little differently than the other ones are. Like there's performance mode versus studio mode or whatever,
Yeah,
and some of them
yeah. It
have so
was
you can.
that's how mine is too. It's got a live mode, and it's
Yeah,
got a sequence mode where like you actually have the 16 channels, and you can set the patches for 16 different channels. The
yeah, there
live
you
is
go.
better designed for like layering sounds together.
Yeah, because it's a question of whether it's layering. It's also a question of like set list. If you had, if you're going to put together a set list for a live performance, you want to be able to go quickly from piano to organ to this to that, and you want to have that in a certain order so that that, oh, on this song we're going to switch from here to there, and on that song we're going to switch from there to there, and make sure that you have the sounds lined up the way you want to, rather than having to hunt around for them on the fly. Kind of like with
Yeah,
the pedals, like the line 6 pedals for the guitar, where you can have, you can customize and have your own, like, these are the 4 sounds that I'm going to need the most, and I'll have them lined up right here, like my regular tone, my boosted tone for a solo, something for a chorus or whatever for something else, and whatever, something heavier or something like an amp sim or whatever.
yeah. The nice thing with the Roland, they're really good at putting their instrument definitions out there. So, like, with Cakewalk, all I have to do is load my particular model instrument definitions, and Cakewalk has all the patches, knows what everything is. Otherwise, you have to remember your patches by numbers, and there's over 1,000 different patches in there. I'm not going to remember that, like, this string sound is 650, and the piano sound is number 34.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say you might remember like the top 3 or 4 that you use or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, it's nice when you can actually just like load up, and in the case of the Roland, they categorize them. So, if I'm looking for different piano ones, they're all in a category, and I can
Right.
switch over to strings, and boom, all the different string sounds are grouped together.
Yeah. And then when you're looking for something and it's one of the winds or it's one of the horns, one of the brass, like is it going to be in the horns? Is it going to be in the winds or is it going to be in the horns? You got to make sure you figure out where it is.
Yeah, that actually fucked me up when I first got the Halion sampler because I was looking for the saxophones,
Yeah, yep.
and it turns out that they're in I think they're under the winds because it's a reed instrument, and I always thought it was a brass.
Mhm. It's powered by air, so they might see it as, yeah, like you said, reed probably makes the difference on that definition. But knowing where to find it is the important thing. And that's where the categorizing can be difficult, but having like performance mode to me, I thought that was more like again setting up, certain presets that you could just get to them quickly so you can like page through these 8 sounds that you're going to be using all night and just be able to flip back and forth without having to go hunting them down or memorize or
Yeah.
have a list of the numbers.
Okay, I got the next one in our jam, The Man in the Store.
Nice.
I think it is number 5 here. I think that's where we left off.
I could have totally picked up another song on that tone.
And
But
no, we were all
yeah.
over with that, but that came out dope. I really liked it though. Well, coming different, different. See, that's the art of freestyle and beauty of it, right? It's an ever changing masterpiece, and this world is an ever changing masterpiece. At least that's what my brain tells me every time I look away from the streets and into the forest. And
today at the grocery store. He told me of his time he served in the war. I don't remember his name, but I remember, his tale and what he went through to stand next to me in that grocery store as well. Now, this is actually a true story, but
okay, that was
give me a
dope.
minute. Give me 1 minute, be right back.
That was fire. God, I like that. Listen. So, my homeboy is back from 6 tours in Iraq, and he starts thinking that every time he turns his back, there's somebody out there trying to attack. I mean, he can't even stand in line at the fucking Starbucks without making him up if somebody with a turban walks up, and he knows it's not right. He knows he shouldn't be shook. God damn it, every time he looks with his eyes closed, all he can see is the damaging. But he's managing. Just managing. Time will heal nothing at all. All the wounds stay fresh in this living hell. I couldn't even begin to tell you what I've been. So I grabbed him by his shoulder, and I kinda pulled him a little closer, so close that I wrapped my other around his throat, and I hugged him and I said, brother, I love you, man, just know that you're safe here up in my hands, and if only for this moment, if only for this time, just take some rest and relief from your mind, and know that I will be there for you. So just slowly walked away. We were both half dazed. I shook his hand and said, I'll see you on another day. And that day just never came, man. As he walked away. Seen the smile look back from his face, and my heart's been on fire since then.
Man, Tommy really felt that one.
Definitely feeling
Yeah,
them for sure.
I think Ange got him fired up on that one for sure.
Yeah. And then she ran off and let him rip.
Wind them up and get them going.
Yeah. Well, she kind of established the theme there, and like I love like I mean he totally freestyled that and like got into the moment, got into the story there of the man in the store.
Yep, got to feel the character.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why it's nice, like getting to jam once in a while and just bounce off of people. And like, I wouldn't have played that progression the same way if I didn't have like some energy to feed off of.
And which way the words kind of take it. Sure.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I've missed. BandLab is great for like fleshing out ideas and bouncing the ideas slowly back and forth, but getting to do it while you're playing live, that's one thing I wish BandLab would incorporate in some way.
Yeah. And again, even just it could be what's come along with the speeds that people have at home now, generally, compared to what it was a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. I mean, things have come along to where we're getting there, and just seeing how it's working already so far, there's already not the same kind of noticeable lag that there used to be, where it would be, really, really noticeable. Somebody had drums going, especially, if you have somebody trying to do drums and somebody somewhere else trying to do bass, trying to lock that in was really difficult, because if you're trying to stay locked in with something somebody else is doing, you're both falling further behind, and the whole thing slows down and grinds to a halt.
Yeah, and as they've developed, better conferencing software, and like when you're just dealing with music, if you get rid of the video and you're just dealing with the audio, you don't really need super fast connections. I mean, people have to have somewhere between 5 megabits to 10 megabits of bandwidth, but I mean, most people do nowadays.
Yeah.
I
And I
mean,
was saying,
if you can do a Zoom like conference and it doesn't get like too compressed and wonky, then you probably can handle a live jam.
right. And again, depending on your connection, how many people in your house are trying to download stuff at that moment, all those different things that we talked about before.
Yeah, yeah. The trickiest thing when it comes to Zoom is like we've dealt with it is the Zoom compression, and by default when we connect to Zoom, the audio is set to Zoom optimized, and you know it'll try to like catch up people's different speeds. That's why sometimes you'll hear things go fast for a second, slow down.
Sure.
But when you do switch to original sound, which we all did for this session, original sound turns off all that compression, just gives the raw audio, and you don't end up with that like guitar that comes in and out. Or if I wasn't on original sound, you'd only hear half the notes I'm playing.
Right. Sure. Sometimes you have issues with monitoring as well, right? Like you would want to be monitoring not from Zoom, but you want to be monitoring just through whatever you're doing locally for your keyboard, and send just the keyboard signal out and not go through your microphone like that.
Yeah, that's another tricky thing with my music machine. When I connect it to Zoom, I actually use two different audio sources for the speakers and the microphone, so that way what I'm hearing from the Zoom doesn't go back in through the because I use the mixer as my microphone. So I don't want the Zoom audio to go back into the mixer and come back out into the Zoom. That's when you get the echoes.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I do is I actually my Roland is an audio USB and my Mackie mixer is an audio USB. So I set the Roland up as the speaker and I set the Mackie up as the microphone.
And
Nice.
I am very similar, Tony. I run a Xenix Control 2 from Behringer for most
Oh,
of my audio, but on my Yeti, microphone, I can plug into that and then choose that as my speaker in the headphones, so I can
Yeah, the
hear it.
Yeti's nice because you have built-in monitoring with it that
Correct.
you can utilize, and you're separating, the audio you're listening to from the Zoom versus the audio you might be listening to on your mic. And when I'm trying to play in that kind of situation, the, the monitoring, I really have to adjust like what I hear coming out of my keyboard. I have to bring my headphones down, otherwise I'll hear the keyboard way louder than I hear everybody else. And so I adjust at the headphone level until I can hear everybody, and my keyboards are mixed with everybody else in my headphones, and it doesn't fuck with the output that I'm sending to Zoom. I've got the
Right.
output to the Zoom very calibrated, because every time I change patches, every patch has a different, level. If I switch to strings, I got to pull it back a little bit. And then when I go to the pianos, I got to bring it up a little bit.
Yeah, managing the different patch volumes is important, especially when it comes to live. That's one of the bigger problems we'll have with keyboard players playing live is you get them all, rung in during a sound check. You ask them how loud they're going to play, like play the loudest thing you're going to play and give me a
And,
little bit of that so you can get that dialed in. And then you work from there because you can boost them when you need to on a low patch, but you can't really bring them back down if they're already too loud and crushing stage volume. Like that's going to be a problem.
yeah, and the same problem happens with guitarists who use like different effects, the different presets. You can switch to a distortion preset, and all of a sudden it's like explosive, and then you switch to a clean sound, and it's like, where's the guitar?
Yep. But that's where, like,
Yeah.
during if there is a good sound check at the beginning, one of the biggest questions is, play me the loudest thing you're going to play on the loudest patch you have. And if you don't know what it is, like, just walk me through a couple of your patches. Like, play a little bit of the keyboard, like you said, a little bit of piano, a little bit of strings, a little bit of this, because some might be inherently boosted, louder than others. And you just want to see which one's going to be the one that jumps out. And when you hear the one that's loudest, like, yeah, that one, play me
Yeah.
loud on that one, and I'll get you dialed in. And then we can boost from, once we're there, but we don't want to go past that.
Yeah, we've
And
all we've all heard that guy comes in the song to do a solo, and the volume's just like skyrocket
140.
on those. Yeah, 140 decibels, and that's
I
why I
call
always
that
love that volume pedal.
I call, yeah, well, yes, the foot volume pedal especially. I mean, a good
Yep.
guitarist knows how to like dynamically adjust, and if they do it with their foot, you don't have to do anything with your hands. Your hands are already busy.
Yep.
That's a good way to control the different like volumes you deal with.
There also doesn't need to be too big of a difference between your regular playing volume and your solo volume. It just needs to be that little bit of a pop, so it actually jumps out of the mix. You're already going to be playing something that's more probably more aggressive and played a little bit harder anyway, so it's going to be a little louder on its own. So when
Yep.
people oh, now's where I got to turn up. If they turn up too much, they turn up 30%. Well, now you're going to be at like at least 50% louder because you're already playing louder at a and more intensely. So it's
Yep.
about managing that and managing how much it needs to bump up. When we do live stuff, a lot of times we get the guitar player gets rung in, we get them the volume that they want in the monitor that's in front of them, and then he'll boost that a little bit more even. And when it comes to a solo, he'll boost it. It's nicely boosted in the monitor, so he's got a good a good amount of feedback coming in, not feedback in a bad way, but feedback positive feedback coming from the monitor, so he can feed off of that while he's playing, and can hear it well enough throughout over the mix without having to boost it on the stage and boost his amp too much, because that's where you get like they start turning up and then the bass turns up and then somebody else turns up and all of a sudden everyone is 40% louder than they started, and it's not a good thing.
I used
And
to.
you're typically dealing with one guitarist, right?
Not always. I mean, sometimes it's two, sometimes, I mean, some of it's 10-piece bands with 3-piece horn section and all that.
Oh,
A lot of times
with
it is
your
4 and 5-piece,
jobs,
but
with
yeah.
your jobs, but when you're jamming, it's pretty much like one guitar situations, right?
A lot of times, but we do sometimes bring out a bass player, and when we do, I'll go ahead and switch over to
Oh,
guitar.
and then you become the other guitarist.
I go rhythm guitar, yeah, and they constantly try to throw me solos. It's like, just let me get comfortable playing guitar on stage a few times first, and like
I'd
we'll get to
rather,
soloing in a bit.
yeah, I'd rather be the rhythm guitarist all day.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's about figuring out just tasty little phrases to play. Like I gotta get my channel my inner Bob, from the Grateful Dead and get the Jerry and the Bob situation going, like where Jerry's doing the taste like the beautiful solos that are sweeping and arcing and all of that, and Bob's just kind of throwing in little things here and there that are just keeping the song going. But it's also about the arrangement or the pieces that we have going because we're playing usually in that situation we're doing a 5 piece. So we've got a bass player who does the nice floaty Phil Lesh style stuff. So he's got, nice wandery bass stuff going on. So somebody has to be holding down the song. That's the whole thing. Like I'm used to that when I'm playing bass, I'm used to being the guy who's got to be there on the one every time and make sure that, timing wise, everything's working out and keeping where it's going. But when you're
Right.
doing, Grateful Dead stuff, you could be like you're all over the place just doing whatever.
Yeah, converging. You deal with the drums when you're playing live. How do you do your monitoring there?
With my ears.
But like
I just play. I just
to
play.
to hear like the music that's being played, do they hook you up
Oh,
with like some speakers, or are you just like they
I
better be following me?
so for a long time I had my own inner ear set
Oh,
up.
you got the in ear.
So wherever we went, I would give the sound guy, the bass, plug it in, then I'd have a little pack, and I would do that. And then those got kind of banned because of the FCC rules and stuff. They were all
Yeah,
FM and stuff. So um, usually I'll grab a wedge and stick it right next to my hi hat or whatever. But um, a lot of places don't have that accommodation either. Depends on where,
yeah.
what kind of hole you're playing in, and you just gotta hear the sound. You just gotta, for us, like some of my bands, I always had like the rhythm guitar player. His stack was always next to me.
Okay, so at least one of them, you're getting at
Right.
least one of them like aimed
Because me and the
towards.
rhythm guitar player are going to feed off of each other, obviously, on the rhythm section.
Yep.
And then really, I mean, it's just doing your homework and knowing where the song is, what you're playing. The
Well,
only other
that
thing
that
I
that
like to hear the
that's what
vocals.
practice. That's what practice is for.
Yeah, and I feed off the vocalist. A couple of my lead vocalists, man, we would just, and you know how it is. Anytime you do a show, and everybody, I think everybody on here can attest to this. Different shows bring different vibes and energy, and sometimes lead singers are funny animals. They get into different moods, and they can one night they can be really angry, and other nights they can just be laughy and clowny and having a good time. Um, and I used to feed off of that. I literally would just absolutely feed off of that. They were bouncing around and jumping off the stacks and doing stuff and just getting after it. And I started. I had a lot of nicknames as a drummer, and so they would. I used to do a lot of antics behind the kit. My favorite was spitting water all over my lead singer.
As a
Beer,
drummer
water,
should.
Somebody
doing
had a sign.
shots.
A drummer from a band I worked with a couple weeks back had a little sign, beware flying drumsticks. They're gonna come at you like shoo. Got a whole bag full back there, and somebody you
Yeah.
need to get their attention, he'll just chuck one at you.
Or if you get like a broken drumstick, I mean that can get dangerous.
Oh yeah, you kill a vampire with that easy.
Yeah.
I shattered a cymbal one night at a show. I
Oh
didn't realize it
man.
was cracked, and I was riding that bad boy, and I went on the final like kind of crescendo, and this chunk, a chunk like that broke out of it, and it shot across the stage, and dang near took out the lead guitar player because it bounced off his mic stand and hit him in the leg where it
Well,
Wow.
landed.
and that's a lot harder to improvise around than say like a guitar snapping a string. Like,
Right.
if you fuck your cymbal up in the middle of the show, it's not like you're gonna have spares just unless you've got like money
Well,
or that cymbal is like close to like its end and you do manage to have one ready, but
well, and you can't improvise either if you send shrapnel in your lead guitar player's fucking leg, and he's bleeding out on stage, and trying to crawl off.
It's all part of the show, folks. Just
Yep,
no worries, nothing to see here.
it's just stage blood, I swear.
Drum solo, go. That's the
Those
best.
are
That's get a cover for
war
with a drum
wounds.
solo.
The wounds
They
of
also
war.
always try to get me to do drum solos, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not Neil Peart.
Yeah. For me, when they call for a bass solo, it's even worse because I mean, with a bass solo, they're actually calling for a bass break essentially, where they just want to have,
Yeah.
just like a bass drum
Mhm.
hit here and there and have me like cover everything in the meantime. And everybody else just drops out and watches me. It's like, that's not really what I'm here for. Like, I'm here just to kind of like, be doing the bass and, be the pocket, like let's get the pocket going and get people soloing
Yeah,
on the top. And that's fine. Like,
exactly.
I'm good back here, like we're fine. If I want to step
Uh,
out and be in front, I'll definitely do it. But for the most part, like you have to take somebody from the back and be like, here, boom, and put them out in front. It's like no need for that. Come on.
you got to find your inner Getty Lee.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing is singing and playing is also tricky where for me, I can do the
Hmm.
bass parts fine and I can sing other parts like background parts fine. If I'm, like somebody singing a lead part, I can get something behind that, no problem. But trying to do that while I'm playing bass, a lot of times certain songs, just the timing isn't right. Like, I'll either start messing up the bass line or I'll start singing what I'm playing or I'll start playing what I'm singing. So I gotta, still work that out. It's been a long time I've been working on that, but it's just tricky.
I've seen a lot of bass players that led on vocals,
Yep.
and they'll get into certain parts of a song where they're singing, and you'll see that bass come down to the side.
Yep.
Yeah.
That they'll grab the mic, and just be singing. And it's like, screw the bass line. I'm just gonna focus on the vocals.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
the ones that always impress me, the drummers who sing, like, the Phil Collins that are out there who can actually do those intricate parts and at the same time hold a melody, and like they fascinate me.
To me, I think that's easier. And again, I'm not a great drummer or anything, but I'm starting to, be able to put three things together. Getting that fourth thing in there is a little bit tricky, but getting three going, that's like no problem. So we can start
Well,
doing that and that
and if
works.
you've
But
got a headset, like, Phil would use the headset, but the drummers who actually do that whole like head to the side and do these killer beats,
mhm.
I don't. That doesn't look easy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, the drumming part's the hard part really with that, but the timing for the singing seems like it would be, or not the timing so much, but the fact that it's melody and all that, since there's no melody involved with the drums, you're just worried about the timing and the beat, and you're just keeping that going. As long as you can get your hands on autopilot, essentially, your hands and feet, then the singing part is kind of all separate from that. And we try to get the mic set up, like coming in with a high mic stand coming in from above and to the side, so that it comes in and you can kind of push it off to the side when you're not using it as the drummer, and you kind of just like swing it in, and then you're good when it's time.
yeah, but because I did it for a few years. There's a
Oh,
couple songs in a band I did the same.
you pulled the singing and the playing.
Oh yeah, I had a boom mic and sang. Um, and Glenn's right in what he's saying there. You kind of get on autopilot when you're playing. But the biggest problem or the biggest challenge for drummers that do that is the breathing.
Sure.
Because drums are a very physical instrument.
Exactly.
And depending on what you're playing, your breath and your breathing is going to change. And that's also important in what you're singing.
Sure. And when it comes to technique, when it comes to singing, ideally you'd be standing up also, which, when you're drumming, you're really not usually standing up. Whereas
No.
singing from a standing position
Unless
gives you
you're
more power
Steely
from the
E.
core so that you can
Steely
sing with
E
more
would
progression or
play pretty
projection.
good standing up.
Well, I don't know. For some reason, a lot of drummers I saw, especially metal drummers, I felt like always lower on their throne, because they're doing a lot of double kicking.
Right. Sure.
I sat more higher, like a kind of like a jazz drummer or whatever. Just for whatever reason, it was more comfortable. I guess I have short legs, so it worked out. So I was always more up, and so I could breathe better to sing with.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be slouching and trying to sing.
No.
You're folding yourself at that point.
Yeah,
And
and
if you're,
then it's hard too because you're playing, and you know that you got technique. So when you go hot, and you're trying to pull away from the mic, and the boom's just like in your face, and you're like, okay, I'm trying to reach this cymbal over here and play, and I got to pull away from the mic because I'm going high, right now or whatever. And it takes a lot of practice. That one, two songs, I would spend probably 20 hours a week practicing just to make sure I had it down right because you could train wreck that real quick, real
Well,
quick.
and you got to know your kit if you're doing that, because like a lot of times you're not going to be looking. you just know like this is where this is. If you're changing kits or like using some house kit that's configured a little different, you kind of have to look when you're not familiar with where things
I
are.
hated that one. So in Denver, they had a contest for years, best band in Denver contest. And
And you're not playing on your kit, you're
no,
playing
it
on
was the
some
house
house
kit.
kit. Yeah.
Yeah, and oh God, it was just like you should, and nobody would know. They kept it a surprise, and you would show up, and they're like, "Oh,
And you're right-handed, correct?
yeah,
So at least you know, like you're dealing with something that's kind of universal. The house kits are always for the
yeah."
right-handed.
I wasn't. Uh, yeah, I didn't have that challenge of being left-handed like Ringo Starr and playing, recording a song and playing it backwards. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but no, singing and drumming is a huge challenge,
Mhm.
but fun.
And ironically, some of the like best voices in the band, the a lot of times it is the drummer who has that like golden voice that just complements things. Look at Queen. I mean, he had a voice that actually matched Freddie Mercury's.
Look at what's the who does the Superman song? The group from the '90s.
Well, there's a couple of Superman songs. Are you talking
If
Three Doors Down?
yes, yes,
Three
Three
Doors
Doors Down.
Down.
The lead
Yeah.
singer was the original drummer.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Huh.
he came out from behind the kit, and they got a different drummer in who wound up being the drummer for what's it? What Nickelback.
That's kind of like the dude from Weezer. The
Yep.
singer for Weezer was he used to play next with the band room I played at as a teenager. He was in a band called Avant Garde. He was the drummer, and I guess he had a lot of stage fright. So he would flip his drum set around, and he'd be playing staring at the wall because he didn't want to see the the crowd, so he would play backwards, which was really cool because like he had the drums slanted and like you could actually see like technique and all the drums and as he was playing them, and it was a
That's
trip to watch
bizarre.
him play. Yeah,
I know Jim Morrison did his first few concerts with his back to the crowd.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
weird.
if you're gonna be a singer, you have to get past that. It's ironic that this dude became a singer because I'm like, man, he's willing to flip his drum set around because he doesn't want to like see the crowd. And he changed over to singing. Like that's the most nervous position to be in if you have stage fright.
Someone had a long talk with that boy.
Yeah.
There's also a big difference between somebody who, is just singing and somebody who's being a front man or a front woman as far as like the whole, getting the crowd involved, being animated, moving around on the stage like you were talking about. Like all of that is a whole different part, a different aspect of showmanship. Whereas again, like for me, I'm at a jam, I'm playing bass. Like I hardly even look up from my hand. Like I'm mostly just like staring at my fretting hand and doing my thing in the back there because it's not my job to be out front and doing that. But I should be more animated than I am, or at least look
What?
like I'm more involved. But like I can hear everything going on. I see signals. If somebody's making a signal, I can see it out of the corner of my eye and follow it. I hear the change coming anyway. So like a lot of it doesn't really matter. But as far as, if somebody in the crowd is looking up and they see that I look like I'm just off in my own world on the side and not connected to the band, that might throw them off. So I should be more connected to the band.
Well, I mean, in a scenario like we were talking about earlier, you just going and jamming out
Yeah.
and doing it off the cuff. It is what it is. If you're a band and you're going to play a show in a lineup, my philosophy has always been people pay to be there,
Yeah.
and
In
they're
that
they're there
situation,
to
it's
be
different. Sure.
entertained. Yeah, they're there to be entertained,
You're
and
working for them. Sure.
exactly. And so yeah, you're right.
Got to
But jam
find your
situation is
inner
different.
Michael. You got to find your inner Michael Anthony. He had a great balance between like, bopping around. He was the secret sauce in the vocals for the early Van Halen stuff. Like, I mean, David Lee Roth, unique voice, booming sound, but it was Michael Anthony's backing vocals that really like set their tracks up in the early days.
Some of my favorite things with a number of the bands we work with are bass players who, they're just like doing antics, let's say antics back there where, they're playing, but they'll like, lift the headstock up really high. Like it's one of the metal bands or one of the ones that does, they do a lot of AC/DC songs. They do a lot of the heavier stuff, two guitars all the time, no keys, but two guitars, bass, drums, and a lead singer front man. And the bass player a lot of times he's got the wireless, so like he'll come out in the crowd, like somebody's on the dance floor and they're they have their back to the band, and he'll come down and just come up behind them and he'll be playing the bass behind them and like sneak up on them essentially, and they turn around, they're like what? All of a sudden the bass player's out there in the crowd with them. So stuff like that is good to get the crowd involved,
Absolutely.
and the wireless makes that work.
Oh yeah, and wireless is so much better these days. I mean, thinking back to like the early wireless of the 80s and then where it went in the 90s, and like he was saying, like the FCC had issues with the old technology that they used. Planes would like sometimes cross over into your show.
Yeah, no good.
Now
They've
you
gotten
can
better
get
with interference.
these little, yeah, you can get these little peanuts now that are like $20 and they work awesome.
Yeah, I'm thinking about replacing some of the with the lighting that I do. I do DMX cables to go to the light trees from the controller board, but it keeps me
Mm-hmm.
tethered to where that is. So like from the one
Mm-hmm.
light bar to the other, and going right across from one to the other, and then I have to be close by. So I'm thinking about going with the wirelesses for those.
They're absolutely awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have another light guy. He does. It's even just like for me, it's just two light bars that have four things on each, so it's two quad bars. But what he does is he has the individual pars, so he has
Yep.
probably 16 or 20 things set up on different trees all around the thing, but all of them have their own little wireless. So he's got a whole little family. It looks like a chessboard of like little
Yep.
wireless things when they're charging in their little charger there, and then he goes out and just plops them all in, and everything just goes from there.
Yep.
Makes it a lot easier
Okay.
though. But that way I'd be able to park myself anywhere. All I have to do is find power for the light board where I'm sitting. And that could be, anywhere along the edges of a place.
Well, and hopefully the power does you don't blow the power like some of the gigs that you've had.
Yeah, no, for the most part, the lights are like the least of our worries. The bigger problems are the amps themselves and how many
Yeah.
things, how many amps you got on stage. And sometimes you can go crazy with the lights. Like the one guy, he does have, like I was saying, 16 different things that are all there. So that's all these different trees, and each one's got, power strips and light bars, connecting everything together. And then he's got a smoke machine and he's got lasers and all that. So you are ending up at a lot of power, but it's not as much as you would think. It's not as much as it was in the old days when it was like theater lighting, like the ones that would get really hot where
Oh
you have the
yeah.
Well,
gels and all that.
and the old amps. I mean, amps have gotten better at how much they suck up nowadays, but
A lot of
like,
people like the old amps, though, is the thing, is like they want that
we-
custom sound or that
Well,
classic
hell, they
sound. So
had they had freaking transformer, like small, a house transformer in them practically.
exactly. You get them all hot rodded up. It's like people are like, "Oh yeah, this one's hot." Like, no, this one's hot. Like they're getting it where you can't get it past 1.5 if you're playing inside. So it's like,
Yeah,
where are you going to play that exactly?
light bulbs start popping and stuff. They turn it to 3.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
well, and with the lights nowadays, there are a lot more LEDs
yeah.
where
It's almost all
the
LEDs.
power consumption is practically nothing.
Exactly. That's the big thing that I have going in my favor is that it's two trees of just LEDs, and each one has the four light heads on it essentially, so that you can have four different colors at the same time from each of the two bars. But I usually run them as mirrors, so it's like these four on this side and these four on that side, but they're running the same program essentially on both. But they don't have to be. I mean, you can set them up however you want. But it depends what you're doing for the light show as well. If you want it to be more of a hands-off show where you can just set it up and have it cycle lights so that there's something changing on stage, or if you're going to be sitting there like literally, following the beat of every song and getting changes to happen right on certain spots and all that.
Your band members are lucky they got a light guy for a bassist.
Yeah. Well, it all depends
I
if it's
always
it's usually
wanted
when I'm
I wanted a killer light setup when I was playing with my band, and I did want a smoke machine, totally. But
yeah.
back
We
then
built
they were
the
expensive.
I built the light boxes for band I was in. Basically, it's a wood box that was black, and then the top it had a piece of Lexan with a halogen inside of it,
Mhm.
and then it was on a spring switch. So, like the lead singer at certain parts, he would put his foot on it or step up on it, and it would light up on him.
Oh,
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
foot
And then,
controlled light.
yeah, like he stood on the box, so he could elevate, and then it would light up on him. And it once we did that for a couple shows, and people were coming unglued about it. They're like, "What the heck?" And I'm like, well, "I just saw the idea online and built it,"
Yeah.
but nobody was doing it where we were.
One thing I've seen that was similar to that, but not the same exact idea, was something Fish, the bass player with Fish. For him singing, he doesn't want his mic open all the time, but he doesn't want to have to think about when it's muted or when it's not muted. So they basically have just a plate that he can step on. That when he steps to the mic, when he's at the mic, just standing there, it's
Yeah.
activating. It activates or unmutes the microphone, and when he steps away, it mutes it so that you don't get all that. Otherwise, you get the percussive noise of the when you're playing bass like that, and you
I
don't
think
necessarily want that coming through.
what's his name from Corn, his mic, that really elaborate mic he had.
Mhm.
That if you ever watch him in videos and different things or in concert, he always puts his foot on the bass when he grabs it and rocks it.
Nice.
He's turning the mic on.
Sure.
Oh, that's slick.
In some cases, also, if you don't do that, then if they do go grab the stand, like you'd hear a whole bunch of like when people are like, smacking it. And it's like that's not what you want when they're singing. So they should like grab it if they're gonna grab it. They should grab it first and then engage it or whatever. But it depends how loud you're going too. I mean, a lot of people they're not trying to push too loud, but that comes down to singing technique is another big thing you see when you go out to these jams. You'll see somebody who is like right up on the mic and it sounds perfect. Their voice is coming through nice and clear. Then you get somebody who isn't as sure how to sing and they're singing from 6 inches back and they're a little timid and it's almost as if there's no amplification at all. So it's important to make sure people understand like the how close do you need to get to a mic to actually have it working well when you're singing. Yeah,
Or,
exactly.
or or to have a mic that's very forgiving. Like you see these singers online nowadays that they're all using those Shure 7Bs, and that mic is so forgiving. Like some of them are eating it, some of them are back here. No matter where they are, it manages to like sound
Well,
good.
I think some of that too is the sound guys riding that gain hard.
Yeah. Well, the 7B also used to need the external cloud lifter, but the newest model of the 7B actually has the cloud lifter built in. So it's just you can just turn it on right on the back of the microphone. So that's something that's also helped out where people don't have to be as savvy with it. Like other people would buy it and not get the cloud lifter and not realize why they can't really get good sound out of it. But then they just decided to just build it in there.
Yeah, and it actually works good both as a handheld or like a mounted microphone because I've seen singers on both sides there. Like some of them, they'll hold it and they're like all over the place with it and still manages to sound incredible.
Yeah. The one thing when we were talking about drummers before, I've seen also drummers going with the headset mics. And then the thing is, like he was saying, when talking about backing off of a mic when you're going to sing something extra loud, like you can't do that if you've got a headset mic on. So that's the one drawback to those headset mics. Because I've seen bass players do it, bass players, drummers, keyboard, a couple of guitar players. Like the one band, it was basically everybody in the band had a wireless headset except the lead singer who would use just a wireless,
Yeah.
front mic.
I would say for backup singers and things like that, headsets okay. You don't need the same kind of dynamics that you would for the lead singer, but lead singer who uses a headset mic is not going to be as dynamic.
Well, it depends what they're doing. Also, if they're using a headset mic because they're playing keyboard or because they're doing guitar, that's different. If they're just out
Or
there,
they're Britney Spears and they're dancing around the stage. I mean,
right? Sure, sure.
He managed to pull it off with a headset mic, and but
I
then
think the headset
he
mic
does quit.
was a look for a while.
Sure,
Yeah,
Like
that too.
that was just kind of the thing is didn't like Whitney Houston or somebody start that? They had the little thin piece like that and they come out all boop boop boop. Like
uh,
it was a thing, it was a fad,
Brittany
I felt like.
Brittany was the one that I remember when I was young. Like, whoa, okay, the headset mic becoming a thing in the pop world, and
Did you say Britney and when you were young, Tonus?
well, when I was
That
young,
just
Britney
does
was
not.
just coming out, like 95-ish.
I think when I'm young, I'm thinking Madonna had the headset.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, Madonna. Not at the beginning of her career, but
Yeah.
towards the end of the '80s. Yeah, she did. She did start going with the MTV Awards.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mystery
yeah. That
solved.
that was about the time where like I started seeing them become more a thing. Like
Yeah.
the MTV Awards was
Back to
one
the
of the
old wireless
one of the
stuff.
first.
Yep.
Down, down there, down there, down there.
Anybody on here actually watched the first night of MTV?
Oh yeah. Are you
Pretty
kidding?
sure I did.
I was with MTV from the moment it started
Same.
until they went to reality television,
Um,
like mid '90s. I mean, I still watched Headbangers Ball, but
uh,
as far as the rest of it, it just eventually was no longer music, and I was like, this ain't my
Beavis,
channel anymore.
Beavis and Butthead, and that was good stuff.
When VH1 actually becomes the cooler channel,
Right.
you're in trouble. It's kind of like Metallica becoming country.
Or Matt Cracker becoming country.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that post.
I gotta find it.
Or Beyonce going country.
Oh yeah, yeah, she just pulled that off. A lot of people criticized her for it too.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know why.
what's his name? Aaron Lewis went country.
Yeah. Although he really he's successful doing country.
Barry
It worked for him.
saw him play. They did an improv. They had like guitar lead singers, from like six different country bands, and they all sat up on stage and sang songs. They just went down the line and sang back and forth. And seeing Aaron Lewis do that was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Well, and I got to say, like today's country's got a lot more rock in it. Like when I was a kid, I didn't care for country. It was all the twangy country, and even now I appreciate that like bluegrass and all of that a lot more because I've grown as a musician. But as a kid, I didn't want to hear any of that.
Right. Same.
And then Garth Brooks came along and kind of you know, made things a little more interesting and more rock got incorporated into the country. And nowadays, good country rock is kind of like what Metallica became.
Yeah. I was always more into rock and not into the country at all. But I've seen more recently I've grown to like country more. I mean, we work with a couple of country bands where, they got a fiddle player and you get some mandolin and some banjo and all that kind of stuff going on. So I mean,
Yeah,
some of it,
if you get some good fiddle in there, Charlie Daniels was the man when it
yep.
came to like blending that kind of sound into a way where it's like, oh, if this is country, sign me up.
Yep. Almost every time we work with those guys, they do end up playing Devil Went Down to Georgia. And they also have that same fiddle player will play, he'll go back and forth with solos, like in regular rock songs, whatever they're playing other than what they're doing. A lot of stuff is more country, but some of the stuff is regular rock songs as well. But the guitar player will be going through a solo and they'll like, trade back and forth with the violin player, so it's like they're, he'll play a little, and then, the violin player will match it. So like they're going back and forth, just, playing by ear and feeding off each other, which is also very cool. It's always good to see.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're the fiddle player playing "Devil Went Down to Georgia," you're good.
Yeah, yeah.
That
And
is
he's
a
that's
hard
another one
part.
with wireless. He's got a wireless, he's got the fiddle, he's got the wireless in the fiddle so that he can be out in the crowd also, dancing around and getting everybody going while he's doing the particularly animated parts of the songs.
Yeah, yeah. I love how like both violin and fiddle, like they nowadays they are so free on the stage.
Yep. And it's good for whether it's that or whether it's, sometimes it'll be a ukulele or a mandolin or whatever, just something, one of the smaller stringed instruments to, play lead stuff or to have little chimey stuff at the top of whatever sound you're playing. A lot of that stuff
Yeah,
works out nice.
you can rip a banjo. A banjo can sound really cool when you give it a little metal edge.
Yeah, sure. Today at the jam, it was mostly, like I said, just a couple acoustic guitars. We were the only full band that came up, but it was a smaller group. They only do this one once every month or so, and I think the next one's going to be in December. So back to our normal weekly haunts for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well,
Tuesday night, Wednesday nights.
October is busy month for some bands.
Yeah, actually, we ended up booking like every Saturday and Sunday for the month. Mike for the sound crew. So we're doing some festivals, some like town fairs, and a lot of it with like Oktoberfest and Hayride, and getting up into October. So you're gonna have the haunted Halloween stuff coming up. I want to say we have a gig the day before Halloween, and that's going to be a costume gig at a German place near here.
Oh, I used to love playing on Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
One year, I actually got to play at a haunted house that my friend was running, and I got to play the scary music as people were going through the house. That was a blast.
Nice. Yeah, I thought I was going to get to do that the one year. Like we had it was lined up, and we were going to be playing at a place that was like haunted hayride and all that kind of thing. But I think the whole thing, like the whole event, the whole place was just not going to happen that year. So I was like, all right, another time. But we were getting ready songs. Like one of my favorites around that time is like "Spooky" is a song that I always like playing. It's got a good groove to it, and it works very well Halloween time. And then you do the Monster Mash.
Yeah, that's a must do on Halloween. I've
You always
actually
do
covered that one a couple of times.
do the Adams Family theme, the Munsters theme, that kind of stuff.
If you
Ghostbusters, maybe Ghostbusters.
if you do the Monsters theme with like a metal edge, that theme works so good in metal.
Yes, it does.
Nice. That'll work. And that's the other thing is taking any song and giving it a treatment in a slightly different style. Like I know one band that'll take Bob Marley songs and play them in more of like a Grateful Dead style, and then at the same time they'll play Grateful Dead songs and play them more in like a Bob Marley style. And it's like an interesting kind of back and forth going there.
Yeah, wasn't there a band called Dread Zeppelin?
There
They
was.
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yeah, they were great.
I was very surprised to see that when it happened. Elvis impersonator essentially doing Led Zeppelin songs in a totally different, almost a country style, or almost a very different style than they started. Let's say
Yes.
some of these things are on a spectrum. Like when it comes to trying to nail down a metal song, like to exactly what subgenre of metal we're talking about, like that could be a tricky conversation because there's a whole lot of places that it seems like it could fit, but you look at the definition, it's going to be over here and over there. Always.
And Cracker was saying he did the country song with a German and a Canadian. So does that count as country anymore?
Different countries.
Yes.
True. Depends on which country you're talking about. Yeah.
That's world country. Well, we're going to wind down because I got to check on Ange, make sure she's all right. She kind of bounced there, so I'm going to check with her. But we'll be back next week, and we're going to start looking at some of those different software, Glenn, for doing jams. I want to check out the Session Wire and take a second look at Sonobus.
Yeah. And again, I'm on a new machine now. My connection has never been an issue, so that's fine. I was having slow down and space issues on my old machine, but that's all fine. New machine, so no more problems there. I do have to get a new hard drive before I start doing more like video editing type of things. But as far as actually installing some things to get started, I'm good to get going on it now.
All right, we'll get that going for next week.
Sweet.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow night. We'll be taking a look back at Jason in Indianapolis and a couple of interviews with some of the cast. We're going to be going with this horror theme till the Halloween lady sings. So we'll see you then.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Ambient noise, yeah.
So now you're grabbing some BandLab clips.
Yeah.
Now for me, that would also be something where I would use like volume automation and like bring that from the bottom, like bring it in and then bring it back out.
And these are the kinds of sounds you can stretch. With this AI, like stretching it actually can be cool.
Oh, that was perfect for the interlude too.
Ends it right in the right
I
spot.
didn't even notice 40. I didn't even realize the texture faded out at the interlude until it happened. I'm like, wait a minute.
Sometimes you just, it was just meant to be that way.